Hey my fellow earthlings, welcome back to my channel. It is your girl Tlago over here on my channel, Tlago's World, and today it's pajama talks. As far as you can see, I got my bonnet on, I got my PJs on, and I got a nice drink. So on today's topic, I'm going to talk about the time when I dated somebody who was married without consent. Because first of all, I just like to put on the story that I did not know the person was married, but it's how I found out he was married, and it's just the stuff that was happening that got me shocked before I knew. When you find out the person is like this, and then next thing you reevaluate your whole relationship with the person, you're like, what? Yeah. So the story starts off on a nice Friday evening. I had just moved to the city. I think it had been like a whole month and I was still like freshly new, right? So I had this thing whereas on Fridays I would buy wine and pizza and chill at my place and watch Netflix. This was just a way to me to deal with the fact that, okay, my Friday nights are not the same anymore. My Friday nights were always me going out with my friends, but because I moved to a city, I was new, and also I never had any party friends in the city. So I was just like, okay, looks like my Fridays are new. So on the day I went to go buy pizza, there's a corner before you get to the pizza shop, right? So I see this handsome guy, and like I look at him and he looks at me, and he looks at me in the eyes, and I look at him in the eyes, right? And then like he smiles, right? And then I smile at him, and then after that I look away and I try to walk, and he calls me and he's like, hey, so like come here. And I'm like, no, I was just like hesitant to go to him. I don't know, there was just something that was just making me like and he was like, no, come here. And I was just like, okay. Then I just went to him, right? And then when I went to him, he was drinking this carton. He was drinking from a carton of fruit juice. Yeah, it was liquid fruit, the green one. And he told me that he's tipsy, and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I was just completely blown off on the fact that this person is just tipsy and just calling me in the middle of nowhere. So I was just like to him, okay, cool. And then he's like, wait, because I wanted to turn, and he's like, wait, what's your name? I didn't catch your name. And I'm like, you're probably not going to catch it in anyways. Plus you're drinking. Yeah, I have a very difficult name. And like, if you're already drinking and you're tipsy, you're not going to catch it. That's like literally what I said to him. And he's like, oh, come on now, it can't be that bad, right? And then I say my short name, like Tlago, Tlago. He's like, oh wow, he says it wrong the first time, and he seemed very hyper and giggly. So I tell him, you know what, I'm gonna get going. It was nice meeting you, sir. I'm gonna be about my business. He's like, oh, can I walk with you? I'm like, nah, sir. Like, don't you want to just stay here and, have your thing while I go do my thing? And he's like, no, I just want to walk you and it's fine and everything. Okay, cool. So I'm walking with him. We started talking, but what was interesting is that we were talking about our backgrounds, how we grew up. That was like the first conversation we were having. And we were talking about, just life in general, making jokes about things, and just, it wasn't an awkward small talk kind of thing. It was that thing of like, you had just met a person, and like, you guys are just having you're holding a good conversation, So with that being said, it got to the point whereas while I ordered my pizza, and then I told him, okay, I want to buy some wine as well. And he's like, no, I'll go to the store with you and you'll buy your wine. Okay, fine. On our way, I don't know, he starts saying, on our way back, right, when I was gonna go fetch my pizza, he told me, oh, he wants to get going now, and then he says this to me, right? He's like to me, so like when a guy meets a girl that he finds attractive, and then they talk, and then after the girl gives the guy the number, and I'm just like, I don't know if I should be giving you my number. I'm quite boring. There's nothing really much interesting about me. And he's like, come on, like, come on, I can't like walk you all the way to get your pizza and your wine, and we're having this interesting conversation, and then it ends here. And then while he's talking, I see he's like this hand, this is the left hand, right? His left hand has like a ring on it. However, the ring it didn't look like a wedding ring. I had an image of how wedding rings look like in my head. So maybe here I was the wrong one, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked kind of like this. So in my opinion, it looked a little bit like, like it looked like a ring that you just buy in the streets and stuff, and then you just put it on for the sake of putting it on, And then I asked him like, oh, I see a ring on your finger. Are you married, or what's happening? Or are you engaged, or is this like really a wedding ring? And he's like, gosh, nah, like. And I'm like, huh? He's like, gosh, no. And I'm like, so I thought him, like, with that body language he was giving me of like, like, it was kind of like him saying, no, it's not a wedding ring, it's just a ring. And plus the ring it looked ghetto in my opinion. And then when we get to the pizza store, he was like, so can I get your number? And I'm like, okay, fine. So I give him my number, right? And then he's like, he stands and he stares at me, and I'm like, okay, aren't you gonna get going? Because I took my pizza order and I had my wine, and I was like, aren't you gonna get going? And he's like, oh. And I was like, okay. He's like, no, I thought you were gonna invite me to your apartment. And I'm like, I just met you. And I looked at him and I'm like, I just met you. I'm not about to allow you into my apartment, into my space like that. You're not about to just eat my pizza and drink my wine, like uninvitedly, so heck no. And he was like, oh, whatever. And then he got going, right? So I thought that he was not gonna call. I thought he was not gonna text. Because at the time, I was in this negative mindset when it came to relationships. I was in a very negative space when it came to relationships and dating. I always had this thing of like, yeah, I'll give a cute guy my number and he's probably not going to call me. He's not going to text me. And yeah, I had that mindset, But immediately when I got back to my apartment, literally he called and he's like, hey, it's me. I decided to make a phone call first. I didn't want to like text you, bombard you with texts. And he was telling me that he was drinking and he just could not stop thinking about our conversation and so on. And I was like, oh, cool, whatever, cool. All right, that's what happens. So as the days go by, he would call me like daily, and we'd have these long conversations over the phone, which was very cute in my sense, because it felt like, back in the day when a guy would call you instead of like text you, and you guys, I don't know, it just was like more touching. Plus he would call me. He wouldn't like WhatsApp call me, like call, like airtime call, guys. Didn't know that was still a thing, but like, yeah, he was doing that. Some days he would video call me, but yeah, that was basically the situation, right? So then it came to a point where he would come and visit me at my apartment. I think that was another red flag, is that he actually never took me out on a proper date. He would come visit me. However, we never did anything sexual, and I genuinely thought that, okay, this guy seems like a good guy. He never tried to like kiss me or do anything sexual. He would rock on by, and he would bring wine some days, and we would just chill, drink, talk about life, and we clicked so well. And he would bring, like, it was just, it felt like more like, it was like more of somebody that was like a friend in a sense, So even though I thought like the way I saw our situation, to me it didn't seem like a friendship situation. However, there was a day he came over and we were chilling and we were having wine, and he was like, a toast to our friendship. So when he said that, I was just like, okay, so this is a friendship situation. And he's like, yes, it's a friendship situation. And I was like, okay, cool, not a problem. I didn't really take it too personally. I did like have a slight crush on him, but it wasn't that crush. Whereas, you know, there are crushes you have when they reject you, you take it personally, and then there are crushes you have where you're like, I can live without you, you know. You're not that. Yes, you're fine, but you're not all that, you know. So as time went by, he started to, when we would have our phone calls switched, which is something I don't understand. Our phone calls went from friendly people having discussions and just talking about genuine life to people that would just, where we were like being flirtatious. Even our texts were becoming flirtatious. What was also getting funny was that he started calling me with multiple different numbers, especially when he went to work. He would call me. I remember there was a one that was 2001. It ended with the 2001, and the other one ended with the 2008. So he would call me with those numbers. It was confusing, but I didn't care because he was at work, right? And because I was working from home, most of the time, I'll tell him, okay, I don't have meetings from this time until this time. So like you can call me, because literally we would talk for like hours. So usually I'll tell him, okay, look, I have a meeting at this time, so don't call me again. I'll be in the middle of the meeting and we won't be able to discuss. And basically that's what was happening. And I found out that, and then next thing I find out that he has a child, right? And this is where the drama starts. I find out that he has a child. He puts the child as a profile picture, and I'm like, oh, you have a child? Okay, that's so cute. He's like, yeah, I have a child, and so on, right? So one day he came over my place, and then we chilled, but then this time he was in a rush to go home. I didn't take it personally. I was just like, okay, fine, you can go home. I think you have to go back to your child and so on. He's like, yeah, I have to. But I asked him, but before the child situation, I asked him, okay, but then if you have to rush to be home with your child, then who like takes care of your child? Is it the baby mama who lives there, or like is your mother there? He's like, no, my mother's there, but I just want to see, you know, I just want to go back home and whatever. And it's like, okay, because he said to me like he lives with his mother. Yeah. People who live with their mothers. Anyways, he said no, his mother's there with the child and everything, so but he needs to go back. And I was like, okay, fine, you can go. I let him go. It wasn't anything serious. We didn't do anything romantic in a sense, and so on, right? But then it came to the next week when he came, and this time he was like, I feel like now it was like, get into the kill, get your prayer type of thing, right? So he did kiss me, okay? And yeah, he made a move on me, and I let him. Then I stopped him. I was like, hold on, before like this progresses into something, we need to have like a conversation, because last time I checked we were friends. And he's like, no, you know, he's like, I know I said that, but like I feel like we have a connection and it's meaningful and and I want to take things to the next level. I'm like, okay, fine, we can do that, but I need to understand what's happening between you and your baby mama, you know? And this is what he says. He tells me that him and the baby mama, I'm going to emphasize this, have been separated since January. The month currently, right? Then when we started our thing was June. They were separated in January, right? And then he tells me that the baby mama is very delusional. Like she has this thing of like they're still together and he feels like the relationship is over. And I was just like, okay, this sounds a bit complicated. And I told him that like, another thing I told him is like that, okay, but this is somebody you broke off with in January, and it sounds like somebody you've been in a relationship with a long time, in a relationship with for a long time because of the child's age. And I don't know, have you like completely healed from this person? Have you like completely moved on from this person? He's like, yeah, I've moved on. I'm so done with that woman. He's saying all this stuff about his baby mama. This is the stuff that he's saying. Like, she's the delusional one. She's the one that thinks we're still a couple. We are over. We are done. That is what he was saying about her. Okay, cool. Whatever. And then the conversation ended there with regards to the baby mama. Then it happened that we did the deed, right? Then after we did the deed, this is creepy. This is very creepy. He looks at my body and he's like, do you know, like, if you were pregnant, like, he romanticizes me pregnant. He romanticizes me pregnant. He's like, Joe, if you had a child, like, your breasts would be so, your breasts would like thicken up, and like your stomach would, you know, curve, and you know, I can see like your body is very fresh, like for you to make a child, and da da da. And I'm like, I'm not ready to have a child. And he's like, what do you mean you're not ready? I'm like, I'm not mentally prepared to have a child. I just got my first job, and me having a child with my first job, my first salary, like, I still need to get a lot of things together. And he's like, no, you cannot plan for a child. If a child comes, a child comes. Like, a child comes. You know, I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, I don't understand this thing of people saying they're not mentally prepared for having kids. I wasn't mentally prepared when I had my kid, but and I was like, okay, that is your situation, not mine. And he's like, no, the thing is that you think you can plan it. I'm just, you know what, I just kept quiet, and I just waited for him to stop ranting, because I just felt like the further I argue with this, like, this argument is gonna end nowhere. Like, it's gonna end nowhere. Not only that, but when we did the deed, I did ask him to put on the glove, right? However, he stelched me. I don't know if anybody knows what stelching is. It was a term I came across on the internet. So stelching is when you're having intercourse with somebody and they take off the glove, the condom without consent. So basically he did do that, and I asked him, why did you do that? You know, like, I told you, we're not doing it raw. And another thing that also creeped me out about him stelching me is that when he was done, he was looking at me and he was like romanticizing me pregnant, and I was like, no, right? And he was asking me if I use birth control and all, and I was like, why are you asking me? And he was telling me that he's against birth control, he doesn't like it. And I'm like, what? You don't like what? Birth control. Yes, he's like, he doesn't like the whole thing of birth control and all that stuff. And I'm like, but then if someone's just not ready and is not in the financial space, we can't keep bringing kids into broken situations. And he was starting to do his arguments again, and then okay, it ended there, right? So then he was like, he says this to me. He says that he wants to leave, and I was like, why do you want to leave? Because it was already like 2 a.m. in the morning, and I was like, hi, you're gonna leave at 2 a.m. Just stay over, and then you'll leave like in the morning at 6 o'clock. Like, gosh, you're gonna leave now at 2 a.m. What's wrong with you? And he's like, no, my child, I have to be with my child. And I'm like, first of all, it's 2 a.m. and you did say your child is with your mother right now, lives with your mother, and so on, right? And also, I'm sure it's way past your child's bedtime by now. She probably knows that you're not gonna come, so might as well just come the next day, like in the morning when the sun is rising. He's like, no, I need to go now. And I was just like so mad. Like, I was so mad. I was just like, you know what, fuck it. You know what, I'm not gonna hold you hostage. Okay, you're gonna go, right? So I walk him down my apartment, and then he looks at me in the eyes and he's like, okay. And he tries to kiss me, and I back away. Right? And he's like, why are you backing away? I'm like, because you won't stay over. And then he says to me, okay, fine, I know you're mad, but okay, no. He's like, okay, Tlago, I love you. And I just looked at him in the eyes. I couldn't say it back. I just couldn't say, I love you too. I thought it was way too early to be saying that, and I take the sentence "I love you" very, I don't know. I take it so like it's a big sentence to me. I wouldn't just say it to just anybody. And he says it in vernac actually. He's like, and then I'm like, yeah. I just look at him, and he's like, aren't you gonna say it back? And then I'm still silent. I'm just there, looking at him in the eyes. And then he's like, and then he walks away. Then I'm like, whoa. Then I felt guilty. I said this out of guilt, not because I actually meant what I said. I said, like, come back. And he's like, I just said I loved you, and we just did the deed for the first time. And like, he has like a fit, and then I'm like, yo, I'm like, I love you too. And he lifts me. Yes, he lifts me, and he, like he goes around like I can't describe it. Like he lifts me and like goes around in circles. It was such a cute moment. The issue is that what I didn't say what I meant. I just said that because I felt bad, because I didn't want to say it, and the person felt like, ouch, she doesn't like me. So, and it's not like me not saying I don't love you too doesn't mean that I don't like you or I'm not interested in dating you. It just means that I'm just not at that level yet. We're just not, or maybe I play too much Sims, and in the Sims game, it takes time to actually make another Sim fall in love with you. So love is, I think it's the Sims. The Sims make me, interpret love very differently, I guess. And then he leaves, right? Then Shapo. So I told him before he left, I told him that when he gets home, he must call me that he arrived safely home. He's like, no, I don't have to call you. I'm like, no, like seriously, just tell me that you got home safely. I'm worried. It's like 2 a.m. and now you're going out in the streets. And then he's like, no, you don't have to call me. Mina, I was raised here in this city. Ain't nobody gonna steal me in the city. Ain't nobody gonna human traffic me in the city. Ain't nobody gonna do anything to me in the city. And I'm like, okay. Red flag number. That was a big red flag. So the next morning he calls me. He tells me that he managed to get home. However, he said he got a cab on the way from my place to Yip Yip, this other club, and from Yip Yip he requested an Uber back to his place, which costed him 800 or 600 rand, right? And I'm like, you could have just slept over. Now you spend all this money for nothing. And I just laughed at him. And I was like, you were supposed to sleep here and then use the bus like you usually do, because he always used the bus to go back to his place. So it's just like, you're cheap ass in any way, so why didn't you go through your cheap ass ways? I just did not understand. I think that was another red flag. Cheap asses are cheap asses, actually. And he left some stuff behind, but I told him over the phone that he left things behind, and he was telling me how he cannot stop thinking about that day. However, when he was busy saying that stuff, I read his status messages. And his status message, he wrote it. It's those status messages you write, not ones you take a screenshot from the internet or you download a meme and you put. No, it's something he wrote from the bottom of his soul. And he's like, yeah, women going out here taking away the gift of fatherhood to men by going to take the morning after pill and having abortions. Who's like, let a man be a father, give the man the child, and I'm just reading that and I'm like just thinking of the time when we were having that argument when he was like, ooh, I can imagine you pregnant, and I'm like, I'm not ready to feel all that stuff. And he's like, why don't you feel like, and just seeing that whole thing of him saying, yeah, taking the way of the gift of being a father, and to all the fathers out there who don't want to be fathers, you terrible people. Okay, fine, that part, that part the part where he was like, you people don't want to be fathers, sharp. But the part from the top, especially when he was like, those who go out there and get morning after pills, as if like we were some kind of murderers or something. I was just like, yeah, this is, Now comes the second time he comes to my place, right? So the second time he comes, Shapo, we were chilling and everything, did the deed. This time, he wanted to leave at 8 o'clock. I was like, whoa. AD, you want to leave now? No. You want to leave them. And he was like in a rush. When I say he was in a rush, he was up there pulling his underwear, sure. At some point I felt like he was gonna flip his t-shirt and wear it the wrong way around, right? And even when we got outside, he just pecked me on the cheek, ran to the first cab he saw. He didn't even know those people. He was just like, go by lift. Lift it, bro. That's all he did. He didn't even ask where these people are going. He was just like, I need a lift. And they're like, where are you going? I'm going here. I'll find out. And then the person was like, but we're going. He's like, no, now find a way. I was like, ha. So you know what I do? Then I remembered he gave me, this is also something I didn't do correctly. I didn't do my research. So I remembered he gave me his full name and his full surname. Especially when we started talking about, there was a conversation we had. So when we first met, I just remembered this. When we, around the first weeks or something, he was like, I am Tswana, right? So he's Tswana. And also I'm originally from the Val, and Val is an area where people predominantly speak Sotho. So he was like so fascinated and so happy, and he was like, yo, I love a Tswana girl who is in touch with her Sotho roots and da. Like he was saying something like that, because he did tell me that his biological father is of Sotho descent, or like he is Sotho. So and so he was just like excited, and then he told me his full name, his surname, which clan he's from, the Tswana clan he's from. And like I just remembered, so I remembered his full name, his surname. And when I remembered his full name and surname from that conversation, I decided to go on Instagram and I decided to stalk the guy. So I get onto his Instagram. So I see a post, but the post was on Valentine's Day, right? However, it was the post with him and this woman. I assumed it was the baby mama because I saw his child in the picture. So it was the three of them. So my assumption was that, okay, since they were separated in January, maybe that date for Valentine's Day, maybe it was just not to traumatize the child, or maybe they just together, like just giving the child maybe it was a co-parenting day for Valentine's Day. Don't know why I was like thinking like that. Or if it wasn't a co-parenting situation, I thought maybe maybe it was one of those things where you break up with someone and then you guys are like on and off type of thing until like you guys are like official and you're like, you're done, right? Then I went to bed, right? And I decided to sleep. And I don't know, I woke up in the middle of the night. I woke up around 2 a.m. Witchcraft hours. I woke up around 2 a.m. and something is like, Motlaho, go stalk that baby mama. Like, go stalk her. Like, go find her page. Go find her stuff and see her side of the story, you know? So I go to the baby mama's page. Actually, I go on the side of Instagram where, you know, the side where it shows where you're tagged in pictures from other people. And I see a lot of pictures of the baby mama and the child and him. And some of these pictures, they're not even pictures. These people separated in January. But there are pictures in April. There are pictures in June. And we are in the month of June, headed to July. I'm like, whoa. So I go on her profile, right? Then there's a picture of him and her on April, and he's on a throne and he's behind the throne. And then the caption is, oh, my husband, you're so amazing. My husband, my husband. All I remember was seeing my husband. And I was like, oh, what? April, you people have supposedly been separated in January. You want to tell me that I have committed adultery without consent over here? Like, this was not like, nobody told me that, like, this person's committing adultery and I'm a part of the strings. Hey! So I was so mad. And the first people that, at least my friends were still up, and the first people I ranted to were my friends. I told my friends what I had seen. I complained. I was confused. So then the following morning, when I was calm, I sent him this voice note that I still have on my old, because I shared it with my friend and I told her this is what I sent him. So the voice note is still in me and my friend's chat. So I'm gonna just play it now of what I sent him.
Hi. So I decided to stalk you yesterday. And I found some things on Instagram. You said you've been separated with this person since January. But according to Instagram, the other person's profile, you're their husband, according to a post in April. And you and this person have been supposedly separated since January. But it's fine. You don't have to stress no more. You can go straight home to your wife on Fridays. You don't have to stop by here. You're not needed here. You're not wanted here. And life is better off without you to start with. So I guess I'm just going to continue it. And I wish you the best. I hope God gives you what you deserve. And yeah, I'm just gonna head out. So it was nice knowing you. And fuck you. Fuck you very much.
And I blocked his work numbers. I blocked his number. I blocked him on WhatsApp, right? Then he started calling me on my phone, right? So when he started calling me on my phone, I blocked his numbers. And then he started calling me with his work numbers. Then I blocked his work numbers. So then it ended. So I thought things would end there. Then the next day I decided to go on a solo date with myself. So I went on a solo date, and then while I was on the solo date, I was at this mall, right? So when I come back from my solo date, I show my friend, I tell my friend about my whole situation and my sister, and then I show them the wife's Instagram. What's crazy is that she posted a post on that same day I went on the solo date to the mall, at the same mall, and she posted a post with him. The same day I went on the solo date, she posted. I'm suspecting that she probably saw me, or maybe she didn't. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe it was a coincidence, but it was the same mall I went to on that day, and she posted him, and she's like, I think the caption was like "going strong" or something, and I'm just like, yeah, it's okay, lady, but I dumped him, so yeah, you guys can be happy in your marriage, fine. And I just remember like us being shocked, but I just let that slide, right? So you would think that things would end there, right? So sometimes whenever I came back from work, if I went to the office and I came back, I'd see him outside my flat, right? But standing on the opposite end, and he would just stare at me coming to my apartment. But it was creepy, but I tried not to take it too personal, and I didn't want him to see that I was creeped out. So I would just sometimes pretend like I didn't see him and just walk into my apartment, right? So the part that gets disgusting is one day I wanted to go to McDonald's. So from where I had lived in my old apartment, McDonald's was like I'd say a 5-minute walking distance, no 10 minutes. Yeah, it wasn't that far. So I don't know if they were kids, but it was around 2 o'clock, I think, 2 p.m. I go outside, right? So I see a man like him behind like a tree or something, and this man goes on his phone, and he's like, and I look from the side, and I don't know, something tells me it's him. And then it was around 3 p.m. or so, and then the man like pulls down his pants. I don't know if he was peeing and then he forgot to pull up his pants or what was happening, but I remember that man was like flashing his penis at me. And then I'm like, and then I just carry on walking, and I'm like, that looked like him, but it can't be him, right? Then when I get to McDonald's, I check my phone. So my phone has this thing, if I block you, and you try to call me, it shows me that you tried to call me, and it shows me the time you tried to call me. The call just doesn't go through. And then I look at my phone and I see that the same time I walked out the building and I saw that man on his phone doing this. And he looked like the guy. I'm not sure if he was the guy or if he wasn't. But it was the same time that man was on the phone, and it was the same time that person was trying to call, that this guy was trying to call me. And this would I was so creeped out by that when I was at McDonald's, the plan was to order a takeaway and then go back to my apartment and eat my McDonald's at my apartment. But I was like, you know what? Let me just eat at McDonald's today. You know what? I'm just going to eat at McDonald's. And I ate at McDonald's. And then when I got back to my place around 5-ish, because I just didn't feel safe going around that time because of what I had seen. So since I wasn't safe, then I went back and I didn't see anybody there. And yeah, so since I didn't see anything, I was fine. Then after a couple of months, I wasn't seeing him, which is good. He was not outside my flat. He was nowhere to be found and so on. So it was great, right? However, about 3 months later, it was around 3 months later because summer was coming in. So there was a day I was working from home and I was extremely tired and I wanted to cook something and I realized that I was out of salt. So like, I just hate being an adult. Like, you want to cook, then you realize there's like this one thing missing, like you're missing of oil or you're missing of something and you just have to go and get it. And salt is like salt. So shampoo hair, I go there, right? I go to ShopRite, and then so in that street that I used to live in, there's like a bus street where there's like a lot of buses. So the street is quite big. So I was really tired and it has robots, right? So I decided that, you know what, I usually like crossing, sometimes I cross the robot when it's red, but this time the way I was so tired, I did not have the energy to run. So I was like willing to wait for the robot to be a green light or red light so that if any car bumps me or whatever, it can be like, but it was a red light. Okay. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna wait. So as I'm waiting for the light to go to green, right, I hear this sound from across the road on the other end, like on this end, because I'm going this way. And it's like, hey. And this person crosses the road. They're about to get hit by another car. And then the car like goes, and then like this person. And I look and I realize it's him. And I'm like so irritated. He's like, hi. I'm like, and then I just crossed the road. He's like, the robot was always open. Why didn't you just go through? And we're walking, right? And I'm so irritated because like he's walking with me now, as if I asked to be walked over to my place like I'm some kind of lost dog. So after that, he's like to me, he's like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm so sorry about the whole married guy thing. I literally stopped. Is this person honestly talking in third person? Like this person, guys. No, guys, men have too much confidence. Like, men are too confident. They are way too confident. What? And then he's like, I'm sorry about the married guy thing. And I look at him and I'm like, you know what? The problem is not that you're married. The problem is that you think I'm dumb. That's the problem. He's like, oh no, but like when you first met me, I was wearing my wedding band and you saw it. And I'm like, I asked you if it was a wedding ring and you shrugged it off. You didn't claim it. Like, you're supposed to claim that you're married. Like, just say, yes, I'm married. Like, it's not my responsibility. Like, I was asking, like genuinely asking, like, because I saw the ring and then he's like, well, I don't think you're stupid. And I was so irritated because I was like, Paton, what is this person doing here? Like, hello, I dumped you. Go to your wife. Go back to your family. And he's like saying, I don't think you're dumb. I'm like, yes, you do think I'm dumb. You do think I'm stupid. He's like, no, that's not like. I'm like, And then it got to a point whereas he just turned around while we were screaming and shouting at each other. And then he walked away and I was like, F you. And ever since then, I never heard from him again. I'm glad that I never heard from him again. But what just disturbs me with this whole situation, number one, is the time when he was romanticizing me pregnant, you know, like you have a whole wife you can impregnate and have a child with. Mina ngenaphi? Like ngenaphi? You know, like what? What? And then number two, like the whole thing of him, like after I dump him, he comes back. Like, go to your family. Like, yeah, man. Yeah. I think it was my lesson learned that I should not judge side chicks because I don't know the full story. You know, because now I was a side chick myself, you know, and I didn't even know. But yeah, I haven't heard from him in over a year, and I'm grateful. I am happy. But that was a very eye-opening experience for me. I did not know that, like, you know, there are married men doing that out there. Like, the side chick dumps you and you go out there and you still chase her. You'll be standing outside her apartment. I even moved away from that side of the city because of that creepiness, because I didn't know what was coming next, you know. So yeah, that's the story. So thank you for joining me in my pajama talks. I'm not even done with my drink, but I'll see you later, my fellow earthlings. Thank you for listening.